Again, here we are. What problem are you solving? Greatest innovation podcast today. How you doing, Ty?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's been a really interesting uh, week on the personal side, an interesting week with all the decisions coming out of the new administration on kind of the macro side too. So just I'm good. I'm really good. How
Good, but you're
about
holding a
you?
lot, it sounds like.
Say again?
Because you're good, but you're holding a lot, it seems like.
I love that. I really do. For those of you who
I
don't
learned
know,
that from you,
John
man.
is. Yeah, I was getting ready to say that. Like, how do you hold the space? I mean, in everything we're talking about. Well, there goes Adam. Everything
You
we've talked
hold the
about, and
screen, Adam.
and with Jamie, I'm really happy to see Jamie. And we're going to introduce her, but to watch how she used to be a part of our crew, and then we learned it. Did Jesus? There goes my English. We all learned how to hold the customer and hold the space. So I appreciate that. How about you, Adam? How you doing?
How am I doing, or what problem am I solving? Did Ty say what problem he was solving?
No, I think John was just like, "You look good," because
You
I'm
just,
bouncing around.
you
What
just look
problem am I
so
solving? I'm trying to solve my interview that I have on Wednesday, making sure I crush it. That's all. Yeah. How
Adam,
about
what
you,
problem
Adam?
are you solving?
I was just projecting because I was ready. I had two. All right. My my continuity problem, the customer discovery, same ish. I want 30 interviews from one person, one interview from 30 people within 2 weeks. Any format, we got to figure that so you can all help me solve that piece. It can be Mike and I. Mike was on the show. It can be via Slack. Colleen was on the show. We have a link to go through. Just want to get that first interview so that we can start there. That's the starting point. That's the minimum viable situation with interviews. One interview. I think we have we used to have a zero problem. Now we have a quality. We used to have a lack of anything problem, which we don't anymore. I don't want to say we have too many interviews, but we definitely have a quality problem. This is not in a reference. We did not have a quality problem with our friend Javian, but generally speaking, I think there's a quality problem. So I want to see what happens with one interview from 30 people, what the patterns are, divergent exercise. And then I have a secondary one, but I'll save it for the end of the show.
Great stuff. Maybe what we also do is we ask every week, what problem are you solving? It can be professional, personal, fun, anything that you want. So unmute and tell us what problem are you solving this week?
Sure. Thanks for having me, guys. Let's see. My problem that I'm solving, and I don't know if this is too broad or not, but I need to protect my time. This is my personal life. I I need to. My problem that I'm trying to solve is I need more me time, and I need to say no a little bit more. So that's something that, reflecting on 2024 coming into 2025, I don't want to make these crazy resolutions, but I did say to myself, I need to work on saying no more.
I think the first solution to this problem is like a T-shirt that says like "J me time,"
I need a little
Can I
drums.
take you off the show, Nail? This
or
is
like, or like maybe like a yeah.
I didn't think of that. I do have a Cricut, so I could make one.
Jamie, I
Adam's
love
guy.
that because it is part of the value of the show is really starting to think about value. And my sense is that a lot of folks don't, that value is external. It's not an internal. Like, how do you create your own value proposition that you need to hold on to an internal value proposition? But we're always doing the external value proposition, but we never figure out how do we pull it back so we own something for
Mm.
ourselves.
Well, like we used to say, right? If it's like on the airplane, you have to put your own oxygen mask on before you can help others. So
You
related
can't
to
pour from
Jamie,
an empty cup. Right.
that's right. related to Jamie, I am big into New Year's resolutions and all that. And I think after I've got my goal set out for the year, now I'm solving now is building systems. So, because motivation doesn't always work, but systems work. So even on days that you're like, I don't feel like doing it, if you have a system in place, you're more likely to get it done. So now I'm in the process of changing some routines, working around the kids' schedules so that I can.
Can you share? Can you share any of your New Year's resolutions that you're putting systems in place for? So maybe we can help you brainstorm.
No, look at that. This customer empathy, like real time. I'm feeling.
And I'm nosy. Blank, blank.
I mean, one of the more public ones is like, hey, this AI thing is not slowing down. So I've been figuring how I can grow my skill sets there. Where do I find time to not just like read up and watch YouTube videos, but actually be a practitioner? It takes time to play with it, and that's time is, like you said, it's hard to find me time.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm trying to move things around to make sure that goal gets met as well.
I could just see you doing like this card sorting exercise where you have all the stuff you're doing in a day and you're putting it in rank order and then slicing off the last bottom.
Have you been in my house? Like, are you
Putting
watching
the
me?
AI at the top. Right? Whoa. Did Adam move?
What's interesting is I think it's a fundamental, and John, you introduced it to me, but in my master's level work, I understood it, but I just didn't have a word for it. And that's Gauss's law, right? Complexities, right? So I think it's Admiral McRaven says the simple thing of getting up in the morning and making your bed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just set
Yeah.
routine, right? So I'm always interested in how we manage routine. I know when I used to coach track and field, I would set 90-minute workouts. From the time you walk on the track, everything that you do is set to finish the workout. And it's planned, right? It's planned not just one workout, but a week's worth of workout, a month's worth of workout. Those workouts lead to the next step, which is some competition. If it's in season, preseason, out of season, championship, all those workouts kind of stack one another. But it all literally starts with getting on the track, getting warmed up, running a workout, running the cool down,
Buy your shoes,
and
right?
Go.
Exactly. Yep.
I think it was John Wooten who used to coach UCLA. He taught his athletes, so old school, like 1960s. They won 11 championships in a row. He taught his athletes how to tie their shoes, just to make sure they tied their sneakers up correctly. Won 11 championships.
And consistently, exactly.
Yep.
Well, so this is a good segue, right, to bring Jamie on. Jamie Lazzari, she's a close personal friend of ours and co-worker for many years. And we were talking in the green room right before the show how the personal transformation, just through a change of scenery, change of work, a change of employers, how that has shaped Jamie's perspective on the world, and how she's bringing that personal life and her work life, and just how she's crushing it that way. So why don't you tell us a little bit of a history of kind of the types of work you used to do, and a little bit of what you were saying in the green room.
Yeah, sure. So let's see, where do we want to start? I'm going to start with that graphic printout that John, we sat right next to each other for years at work, and he had a printout of Plato's Cave, so a graphical representation. And it was something that we talked a lot about as a team. It was something recurring that would come up, oh, well, they're in Plato's Cave, or finally, we've helped them get out of there. And just thinking about the last 5-ish years, how I have realized, a lot of self-realization that I was in that cave for a long time. Oh my God, thank you. There we go. So I was in there. I went to college. I graduated in 2002 and started working for Boeing. I made maps and then got into a contract supporting NGA, and then, transitioned to be a government person. And John and I met actually, I want to say it was maybe 2006 or 2007.
Yeah, about
And,
that.
Both of us were pretty junior, had been out of school for too long. And I know for me, I can't speak for you, John, but being younger, being a woman in a male dominated area, it was, I didn't have that self-confidence to push back, and finally realizing, why are the engineers writing the requirements for the users, and then we're not asking them, and like, what the heck's going on? And I was a test director for that main system that our analysts use, our agency, to do their job. And I remember asking that question in some meeting. Of course, you all know what the answer was. Well, that's just, that's the way we do it. Okay, cool. Fast forward years, and John and I had stayed in contact, and then working together in this innovation space was really, it was just really powerful for me to be able to have language, have words that I could describe the feelings I was having in my brain. Like, why are we doing it this way? Why are we saying we know exactly what's going to happen in 5 years on this contract? It didn't make sense to me, but I didn't know how to ask the right questions or find information, or, just I'm having the thoughts in my mind, but I don't really know what to do with it. And then taking some courses in human-centered design just really clicked. And then I was fortunate enough to work with you guys and Adam towards the end there. But exploring these ideas and bringing these ideas to our agency, and inside the intelligence community, it's a lot of people stuck in that Plato's cave. Like, there's no other way to do this. Just can't, just don't even worry about it. And not being able to allow themselves to see that little flicker of light, what's over there, and being curious and going that way. So when let's see here, that was 2019. I applied for a program that our agency provided, offered a competitive program where I cannot believe this happened to me, but you apply for the program, you show how what you want to study is going to have significant impact to the agency and department at large. And I was selected to go to school. They pay for it, and that's my job. My full-time job was actually to go to school for 2 years. And I feel incredibly grateful that happened, still in amazement. So it's coming from the world of working in a SCIF full time. So what that means is no cell phones, Apple Watch, no, no recording devices, nothing. You're basically going back to the 90s. This is what I would kind of tell my friends not in this community. Sorry, y'all, I'm stuck in the 90s. Don't text me if you really want to.
If you need it.
You can call my desk. I may or may not be there. Email, not sure if you're going to get that. So
you can call my landline.
I know, and just stuck in this oh, okay, well, this is just the way it is, I thought that I would be working in that environment forever until I retired. That's really what I thought. Then learning about this space, learning about how we can bring those, those industry best practices, those things that were going on outside of the government into the government. The spark started. Going to school right in the middle of the pandemic, and luckily got accepted into a program that they had been doing virtual learning, hybrid learning, for 10 years before this. So they had a lot of experience. The students at oh my goodness, the alumni program is amazing. So, that huge network of folks that are used to just working remotely, learning remotely, collaborating, it was incredible. So going through that program for 2 years, supporting real, private industry companies, commercial companies on projects, and learning the different platforms they use out there, the way they communicate, the way that they have their internal comms versus, okay, if you're dealing with a consultant or another entity, how do they do that? Just learn so much about what is actually possible. And then, learning quickly how to be good at it, because I want to do well in the program. It was just so eye-opening. I I don't have to go back into that 90s world. I could stay out here and, not worry about people being able to contact me, especially at that time. My youngest was 3 and my oldest was 5. So about to go into elementary school where you gotta, you all know, you gotta act quick if they need you to get to the school. And in our case, if somebody couldn't get a hold of me, what would have happened to the kid? Would they be, my children, like waiting for me? Anyway, sorry, I'm going down the rabbit hole here. But things like that, like, okay, I could get a job where I worked remotely. And I did end up doing that. I got they call it a joint duty assignment. So it's a detail. You're loaned out to another agency. They pay for your salary, etc. And it was 100% remote. And they were figuring it out. And that was a lot of my job, was figuring out these folks are moving from full-time in the office, on-prem shared drive, like emailing documents, version 1, 2, 3, 4, final one, all of that, to helping them understand how to work virtually. So that's what I was doing over there. And like, okay, I can do this. This is something where maybe I can just go into the non-intelligence community part of the government. And that's what I ended up doing. And I just saw how much better my life was. I mean, I walk my kids to school and pick them up every day. I'm there. I'm a family ambassador for the school. Never would have been able to do that otherwise. I mean, I'm not getting this time back with my kids. And it was just really clear to me going through that. I don't have to make that compromise. I can have both, have a job that's fulfilling, be able to be here with my kids, wear some comfy clothes every day. That's it's really nice.
Yeah, it's
and
optional.
So I see myself. I didn't know I was down there. And that's the whole thing, right? You don't know you're down there till you see that little flicker. And so I just feel...
Just to get people who aren't oriented with Plato's Cave, because again, you keep bringing up this evocative language, which is great, about how much better you feel and how much happier you are. So as the allegory goes, right? This is from Plato, where it's on the theme of enlightenment, and where people have spent their whole life inside of a cave, seeing these projections of shadows on the wall, and that's their reality. That's all they know. And all it takes is someone to actually break out of that habit, that cycle, look backwards and realize that what their reality is, it's a lot different. Maybe better, maybe worse, but at least it's completely different than what they grew up with, what they understood. And those brave adventurers who actually climb out of the cave, you can actually see what actual forms and actual sunlight looks like. So it is meant, and it applies in many different areas. It's not just an enlightenment allegory. It's for people who change the way they do things, or they have a different awakening to a different way of doing work, a different way with different way of using tools for work. And so pretty much everything that Jamie's been saying is the secondary, tertiary effects of using this allegory to say, I only knew what I knew, and I thought this was good enough for years to come. And then, because of a shift that I experienced, I was able to see things, or see different things, that I probably wouldn't have been exposed to had I stayed in place. So I think it's just fascinating MacGuffin that you tell your story through, how much you've changed as a result of that. So thank you.
So, Jamie, I have a question for you in terms of, if we don't put it back up, John, but if you think about Plato's Cave, that you have people who are in the pit of the unknown, or the pit of the certain, right? My world will always look like this, but there's a flicker that sits out there that somebody like pokes their head and like, what is that? And they go to explore it. And what I hear you saying is that it was, what was that? Let me explore. Like, oh my God, there's an entire world out here. The question then becomes, how do folks like you and Adam and John and I take advantage of that to build out our muscles around empathy for the customer, empathy for other people? I'm wondering how that supported your just your human centered. I love this idea of human centered design. I know the IDEO folk and HCD. It requires some muscle, right? You got to build that muscle because in some ways, I think that at least some of the folks that might be listening to this podcast or that we've worked with, they confuse sympathy and empathy, right? They end up doing. And my joke is, where do you find sympathy in the dictionary between sugar honey iced tea, PG-13, John, and syphilis? And you don't want either one of those, right? I don't want it. I need somebody to hold on in an empathetic way. So I'm just curious, how did that help you build your muscle? Sorry, it's a joke. People laugh, but
I was just, oh, let me think about that. It's a really interesting question, Ty. And also, I guess another factor, another turning was going through becoming a coach. And, obviously, tremendous help with interviewing skills and actually, being able to elicit that feedback that it's in the feels, and I think that that part's helped. So I'm trying to think about the what didn't I know that gave me a spark. You know what? I think that is a really good example here. So something that gave me that spark was going through that coaching program and becoming, and so it's ICF, which is International Coaching Federation. Getting certified to be a coach is the program that I'm talking about.
awesome.
Because I think that, I already consider myself very empathetic. Great emotional intelligence. It's definitely how I was able to be successful. But doing the coaching, it was like taking that to the next level. And then being able to see, okay, people and you just mentioned that earlier, if you hold that space and you can say, I'm feeling this way, or I'm thinking about something, and not rushing to say, oh, well, I thought that, giving all of the solutions, if you will, but sitting with the question and sitting with that space. I think that part, even though, I'm not coaching the people that I interview, that skill has definitely helped me supercharge, bringing empathy to my job, every interaction I have. And yeah, it's changed my perspective on just the way that we hold that space for people to talk about things, because I think, and I this kind of pivoting a little bit, but we're constantly distracted, like not in that level 3 or that real active listening when we talk to people. And for me, at least, being able to have a awareness of that and being able to exhibit that in everyday conversations with colleagues and also interviewing, it's really allowed me to be better at it and just know, okay, I don't need to talk a lot to get a lot of information. I just need to hold that space and let that person fill it.
That is so cool. We actually had a guest on. His name is Ernesto Ciroli, and I've used his the clip of his Adam got him to come to the. You need to listen. It's fascinating, or at least go. If you don't listen to our show, go and listen to him on TED Talk. Ernesto Ciroli, and he has this thing that says, "If you want to help people, shut up." Right? Just stop talking. Right? Stop talking. And so I'm wondering, guys, and I'm talking to John and Adam because this is the thing we've been struggling with, not and guys specifically, not guys generally, that what's the relationship between holding space and customer discovery?
Not much. I think that it's a yes and, Ty, because it's so closely related. And I think that just that little bit of guiding in the conversation, a little bit of tell me about something specific, or tell me about the last time X happened. How did you feel about it? And that's a lot of the time, you don't need that many more questions, because the person has something to say, they feel heard, and then you're actually, building on that. What is that? Socratic seminar, method. You're hearing what they're saying.
John.
Oh.
He loves the Socratic method. Okay, I'm sorry.
So yeah, it is that holding that space, and then just letting them fill it, and you've got to kind of drive, but not really much. When people have something to say, they'll keep talking, and those coaching questions, just those open-ended, oh, tell me more. Why is that important? Oh, I heard you kind of pause there. Can you say more about, whatever they're talking about? Yeah, it's a fine line. It is a fine line between the two, because it just goes so well together. And I think that doing very good customer discovery, you allow that space to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It helps me. You're helping me define, because I'm actually going to Memphis in 2 weeks to work with a group of people who are like trying to build businesses around different projects, logistics, sustainability, supply chain management, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going there to do design thinking, but I'm also pulling in some of the stuff that we've done in our previous lives, as well as the stuff we're doing here in terms of lean startup. And I like the way that you're positioning what we would normally talk about in terms of lean startup. I was wondering when the fox is going to show up. There's the fox. There's a whole story behind the fox, y'all. That was
Felix. I have him here somewhere. I think actually my daughter loves Felix. I'm so sorry, Ty. Go ahead.
That's okay. But you're helping me.
You kind of scared me. I thought there was a big fox like behind me that was about to eat me or something. So I'm glad it was just a pin.
I still have mine somewhere, my pin somewhere, Jamie. But to talk about, this idea, and being a coach as well, the use of the directed questions to discover versus validation of a hypothesis, right?
Yes.
Right. Some of our customer discoveries in terms of validation.
Go that way.
Double diamond, double diamond, double diamond, double diamond. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm having this intense moment with Jamie because I haven't seen her in a while. It's good to see her. So please jump in, Adam, John. Jamie's my homie.
All right, you want to go more customer discovery, or do you want to talk about what you're doing now at well, you can tell us what you're doing now, or
yeah,
we'll save 10 minutes. Sure. What's our hard stop? We know we got you to stay up late. What do we got? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes? Your choice.
I can do 30 more minutes.
All right, so let's save 10 at the end for this too close to comfort that I teased. All right, let's hold the customer discovery piece and the empathy piece and the human-centered design stuff and weave it into what you're up to now in this gigantic organization.
Okay. Yes, sure. Okay, so 2022, I started that detail. Then I was on detail for 2 years, got promoted during that time. It's awesome. And then my detail was coming to an end, had to either find another job or go back to the 90s work environment. So, started looking, and yeah, Ty, just you saying that tonight, thank you, because I do feel that I felt a lot more confident looking for jobs outside of the intelligence community. And I mentioned this earlier, but I mean, just kind of golden handcuffs means just thinking that I have to have this clearance if I want to keep a job. That was just ingrained in me because I'd been in there so long in the cave. But as I started applying for more jobs and getting more interest, I was like, oh, that imposter syndrome is kicking in. But what I, really wanted to do was working in the intelligence community, my customer was the warfighter. So very important mission. I'm not trying to say it's not, but as far as feeling personal to it, it wasn't there. And so what I said to myself was, I'm going to go somewhere where I can affect change for somebody I can touch. That was kind of like,
not warfighter in air quotes, right?
right. So then, kind of like, all right, I'm going all in. Let's see what we can do. Got an interview at the VA, Veterans Affairs, and it's a mammoth organization. The department's over, I think it's 400 plus thousand people that work there across 3 administrations. And the office that I went to is called Veterans Experience Office. So they provide customer experience, human-centered design. They service all 3 administrations. So that's, a lot. And we can only do so much. So much of it is very politically driven. Not all the time. And I say politically, not with the big P. So what's important to those administrations is what I mean. And so that was it. The VA mission is just incredible. The folks the veterans have sacrificed so much for their country, and our job is to take care of them. And my specific job is to make what we provide easier and a better experience for them. So that mission, it just felt so great. I've been there since the end of May, and already have been able to talk to so many veterans. And again, Ty, those coaching skills, those interviews get hard. And I am a very strong empath. It's sometimes hard for me to take a deep breath, not, start crying because I'm feeling so emotional talking to the veterans and survivors and caregivers. But it is hard, but it is so rewarding to talk to those folks. They feel heard. And even if, I can't solve everything, of course, can't change everything, but I think having somebody listening to them and really, again, those probing questions, asking more, being interested, being curious about, what they're going through. It's an experience I just hadn't had in my professional career.
It's really fascinating the way you put that too, because I joke that I'm the recovering engineer on the team because I got out of I'm just going to build this in this little cave that nobody knows about, and so I think the way you put it is I really think we should teach engineers and designers empathy, right? That should be part of their core curriculum. Yes, you have to know all the technical aspects as well, but there has to be a point in balancing meeting the requirement versus solving a problem.
Yeah. And what problem is that requirement solving?
Isn't it interesting to your point, both John and Jamie, isn't it interesting that they have to teach doctors how to talk to patients, right? They spend so much time, spend so much time being mechanics of the human body, that all I got to do is just do this and it should happen. Meanwhile, it's the patient who feels like they've been heard by their doctors, who have a better recovery path. They may still be sick, but at least they feel engaged enough that they care about what's happening with them. I know my dad is 83 and my mom is 82, and the family doctor that we had, they still pine for this guy. I mean, he's been passed on for like 5 years now, and they still pine for him because you could go in and you could sit with Dr. White and just talk, and my mom will go, okay, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I feel better, and I didn't have to take a shot, or I didn't have to take a pill.
Yeah.
And now that they're older, I mean, it's just the alignment's out of whack, and the machine doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. But they go in and I think they now have a doctor. They feel like, okay, I've been heard. And so I think a part of it on the doctor's side, when you do that, you're doing customer discovery, right? Because you're understanding the like all the pieces, not just the blood pressure, but all the pieces that go along with whatever's going on with your patient. What's
Yeah.
your thought?
Yeah, no, it's a great analogy because just being heard, it does wonders. And sometimes I've been in interviews where it's getting off topic, but I think those extra like maybe 4 or 5 minutes to let that person vent, if you will, or just talk about this experience, even if it's not the exact thing I'm after, I feel like that does establish a lot more trust in that interview too, to allow that person to go deeper into what I'm actually after. Not trying to sound manipulative, but just allow, again, and it's allowing that space to be present for that person to fill it up. It does wonders.
Do you want to talk about the flip side? I think getting the data, so you're focused on listening and being empathetic and feeling that space and having an objective and staying on track and being all the coaching so you're obviously amazing at getting. And now how do you use it? How do you go back to your desk with your bag of learnings and filter and sort, and like, this was just venting, it was off track, but it was necessary to create this good data set. And I just and how do you make sense of it, like, really tactically, for those people in a similar role?
Sure. So after going through customer interviews, also doing those discovery interviews, what we'll do is, depending on how the note taker wants to take the notes, because what we have is, for my team anyway, one person, usually I'm a facilitator, and that means I'm having that conversation. And I am not taking notes, because what I'm doing is I'm focusing solely on that person. The nonverbals, the catches in the back of the throat that you can hear, that person wants to say more, but they feel maybe they shouldn't. Those small little, just, you could tell with the eyes, if they're really thinking, if they're kind of like, just keep on going. And then the note taker takes all the notes. And depending on how they do that, what we'll usually do is convert, if they haven't taken the notes in something like Mural, Miro, some sort of like white digital or virtual whiteboard, then we will put everything, like one discrete little thing, on a sticky note. Okay. And it looks like a big old mess. Okay. Starting out. But what we do is we tag every data point with maybe demographic data, what questions, what targets we were after, question targets or section targets. And then we will put all the data out and try to find patterns. So it's kind of like a big game, because you're looking and you're remembering the interview, you're looking at the notes, and where are we seeing patterns here? It seems like a lot of people are talking about this thing. I don't like the way this chart looks, or I don't like the wording in this paragraph. We're kind of seeing similar patterns come up. Maybe it's a word that keeps coming. I'm not saying a word cloud, no, not saying a word cloud, but just if you are noticing similar words coming up, you can say that's a clue of, okay, let's look at that as a theme. And so it is data synthesis. You have to think about the context of what the person was saying, and then start grouping, and you'll start to get these big groups, and then you break those down into smaller. And then I know it's not hard data, it's qualitative data, but being able to synthesize it like that does give quant to it, because you can say, okay, so many people said this same exact thing, or we're seeing this with 50%, it's kind of going in this theme. So it's allowing you to give quant to qualitative data, which is powerful. And so from there, Adam, it's just like you put all your sticks. What are those little sticks called? Do you remember? Pickup sticks. Throwing them or a big pile of Legos, and then trying to sort it out and see what we can build with those themes, insights. I mean, that's the best metaphor I can think of right this second. But tact we do, and if you're thinking about what platforms, Mural and Miro are very popular for that. And I know Figma as well has a collaborative whiteboard space. I like Miro is my favorite, but I have to use Mural in my job. And it's okay. And I do know, and I haven't been able to test this because we don't have a license for it. There's some sort of AI synthesis that can be done. I know Mural has it. I don't know about Miro, M-I-R-O, Miro. But I would love to try it if anyone has a license to this, because I did now I'm really going off topic, but I did an experiment, just, cursory experiment with ChatGPT. Yeah, I know. ChatGPT, Anthropic, and there's one other one. Like, I'm not trying to say this is going to be the answer, but what's going to happen if I dump like a CSV of all the sticky notes in this AI, and can you put it together and tell me what insight to come up with?
I did that with Ty about 2 years ago, right when ChatGPT was still, hot off the press. Ty was hitting me up about this virtual workshop he was doing. He goes, it was like live, but he was chatting me up on the side. He goes, "Hey, is there some way I can kind of like filter this stuff?" I said, "Tell you what, dump it all in a text file, and I'll see if I can just dump this into an AI tool and then get it to run sentiment analysis." Because what was the problem that I was trying to solve was, how's the room feeling? They've typed a lot. I don't have time to go through all this. I said, "Sure." Dumped it in there. Here's the sentiment analysis, and it summarized and said, "Here's the pain points being brought up. Here's where things are going well." Boom. That solved the problem, and it made Ty's job as a facilitator, even better. Again, not replacing the facilitator, but giving the facilitator superpowers in order to aggregate the data.
I'm really interested in that.
It works. All right, go ahead, Ty. Go ahead, and then.
Well, I was saying my experiment, it worked. It was like 50%. It was 50%.
Well,
sorry.
I think Jamie, the biggest part is AI, and I'm not the mathematician, but I use this example all the time. AI is just a math problem, right? And it does it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It takes it and it does probabilities and then puts it together and then spits something out based on something else. But the thing that drives it is you got to ask it the right question. Because if you don't prompt it right, it's like, here you go. There you go. And what I found is just by giving it, and I don't do sophisticated prompts at all. I mean, I've seen some prompts that are like, I don't even know how you think through half of that stuff. But by just giving it the same kind of value that we do to the human, and I'm not anthropomorphizing it, the thing, but I'm saying, can I query it the same way I would say, Jamie, could you tell me more about, because I see you did this, and I'm wondering if that makes, so help me understand how those two things are connected. Right?
That's a good point. I tried a few different prompts to see, but what I have been using it for successfully are meeting notes, like meeting minutes. Put that transcript in there. I have a prompt I wrote out.
I'm ready for meeting notes to be with your parents. Holy smokes. Yes.
But the synthesis, that part, I'm interested, Ty, to see how it went, because it's something where, I want to use AI as a tool, obviously, but I want to understand where I need to really be careful. Where do I need to double check the AI work? What can I trust it to do, and what do I need to do myself? Like, that part is where I'm trying to navigate, and it's a lot of experimentation. I don't have any concrete, except for those meeting minutes. That's the only thing I know for sure. I trust every time.
So if you had some particular models, like double diamond model, right? This is how I do about design thinking. You put that as the context for the bot that you say, it's like, based on this thing, please take this analysis and run it through. I've actually built two bots, two GPT bots. One is
Ooh.
about bifurcated questions, like how do you build out a bifurcated question. The other one is about lean startup. But I dumped as much information as I could. I found some stuff that Steve Blank had written, and he'd written a piece of a monograph, and I dumped that in. And I said, "Here, this is your training. I want you to learn this, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions based on this. Now, please go and do it." And people have been using it. Well, not largely, but they've been using it. But I have to
Awesome.
give it stuff. I have to give it
Yeah.
stuff to use. Otherwise, it's like, it's just stupid me, just like,
Right.
right?
You're experimenting.
Well, they say you give a monkey a typewriter in 10,000 years, you'll get Shakespeare, right? So, yeah.
What works 50% of the time?
Oh, okay. So I had, how many interviews did we have for that one? I think I had about 28-ish interviews. It wasn't quite 30. So I'm going to say 28 interviews. Had my note taker. So my note taker, she is amazing. And what she'll do is she'll take the notes, but as she's going, and she'll be able to tag what the, like demographic data, all this stuff. She's doing all of that. Then, we group it by interview. Then that's when we start the synthesis. All of those things. Where can we find some patterns? So I gave the AI. I used VA. So, this is obviously like not data I'm going to put on the open web. So this is on our internal VA system where, of course, it's not as good as the real one. But anyway, I gave a prompt.
You're not using that new AI that came out today?
I am very curious and I'm going to check it out, but for work, I can't.
Just waiting for that to. Okay.
Chinese one, yes.
For work.
Are we allowed to go till 10:35 if we talk about that one?
That's fine. It's fine. So then I put it in as a CSV because on Mural Boards you could turn the data into a CSV file. Okay, so we did data synthesis on our own. Great. Then comparatively, it was like if the data synthesis had been done with this is somebody's first rodeo, and missing some things. Counting things that don't like the context. If you knew the context, you wouldn't have put those two things together. That makes sense.
I've always said from the beginning that AI is just like a really excited but dumb intern. I'll get you an answer.
That's great. That's
It'll probably be wrong.
Yeah.
And then you can say, that was good. Now let's try it this way.
Yeah.
And you would get a little bit better answer. And you keep doing that. You keep nudging it in the right direction.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll get there. But yes, to your point, that's what I thought of as soon as you said that.
Yeah. Adam, I guess I would say it was like the AI was able to identify the really obvious ones, those really big insights, those really big chunks of, like all of these things say this one insight. And it was good. It just wasn't as good as humans. And I think, again, I could have done better prompting. I just need to understand how this works, but I'm going to keep experimenting with it because I think it's a very powerful tool, especially, time, very valuable asset. So trying to how to use it in my work in a way that's going to be really beneficial and me not have to double check the work. I want to save time.
So if you were to give it a persona, what persona would you give it to do the analysis? In other words, who's Jamie and what is Jamie looking for? Because what I heard you say is, it's like John, it's a really excited intern that can do clumping, and that's about it. The number of times this thing showed up, but the human-centered designer would say, yeah, that's cool, but there's also these other things that I'm interested in, and I need this because the persona of a human-centered designer that's inside the VA who is looking for patterns of despair, I don't want to say despair, or hopefulness inside the customer set that they're looking for. That's the persona that I pick up. Now you've made a more discrete math problem for it to do some analysis.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ty. I hadn't thought about it that way. And then thinking about, okay, so this data synthesis isn't just me, it's my team. So then would I feed in additional personas to say, okay, now analyze the data through this person's perspective. Now do it through this person's. And then now my brain's going. But I could, I think that would be so interesting to see what the result would be for those different personas.
Because you could then go and say, I don't know whose program you did, but you can say, here's everything that I studied, right? Here's everything that I learned in my human-centered design program. Use that as the context to do this analysis, knowing that I want to discover these patterns of behavior and ideas. And then you set it off and you say, now go and do that, because ostensibly that's what you're doing anyway. All that stuff you studied for the last 5 years, you're like, and all the right. This is how, and it's going to give you better than 50% because it's now going to see itself at the risk of anthropomorphizing some technology, some silica and some code. It's going to see itself sitting and looking through your eyes. And it's going to say, oh, I would have never saw that other than clumping, but now this person knows how to do interviewing, who spent all this time and thinks and looks for these patterns inside of interviews. That's what John taught me 3 years ago now about this, that I've now picked up and said, hey, now we can go and play with this idea and build out these rich data sets based on stuff that I would be interested in looking for, not just like, give me the analysis. Okay.
Really interesting, Ty. And what kind of made me,
finish
do you want me to go? Okay. It'll go off on a tangent, but we can talk about it another time. But just so I don't forget, that really ties into this project I did in school I took an AI class, looking at human-centered design in AI. And my dissertation it was not a dissertation, but like the paper that I wrote that semester was all about, can AI reproduce human hunch or human intuition? And it's it was just really interesting to do the research on it to see who had really thought about that, because your hunch, your gut instinct, whatever you want to call it, is coming from a lot of different data points that you don't always know are connected, or this thing happened, this result happened, but all of these different things were out there and you consciously aren't really aware of that connectivity, but your body is, your brain is, and that's how you get, I call it the ick. You're like, no, not gonna do that. So, thinking about those different personas that you're putting in there, you're trying to make those connections that, the second persona wouldn't, based on like you're saying, lived experience, education, all of that. But that I love doing that research, because it's just like, yeah, could it ever, have that intuition? And my conclusion was, not really. I don't see it happening, just because there's so many things humans are unaware of that they lock into their brain.
Wait. I could nerd out with you about pros and cons of that all day. I'd love to read your paper. So I'm gonna ask you one final question, Jamie, and then I'll give Adam back the time that he was going to ask his second point from the very beginning. Didn't forget. But in the terms of customer empathy and your career arc that you've talked about, your education, your experiences, what would Jamie from 2025 tell Jamie from 2015? In terms of everything we talked about tonight.
Yeah. I think that I would tell myself that I need to trust my gut and think that you can leave this environment. You have 20 years of experience. you do not have to be stuck, and you are stuck. So I think I think I would have given myself a little bit more tough love as far as, you know, you need to think about yourself, you need to think about your family and how you're doing great work, and how can you also improve your personal life, because that, I don't know, once that clicked, it was like, what am I doing? Why did I do, you know, just, of course you can't go backwards, but you know, just thinking, I cannot believe that I didn't think that I could have this for myself. And so that's what I would tell myself.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story and how it all ties together, because it's your story and how you've now transformed the mission and made the VA better because of it. Adam, over to you.
I'm swapping the problem I wanted to solve. I'll save that for next week. The AI piece, I want to come back to that for a second, but then I still want to end with.
Oh yeah.
I want to end with Jamie. Still has
Let's see if
5
I can
minutes.
find. Yes, keep talking. I'm looking down because I'm going to see if I can actually find the photo.
Oh no, not that. That we can post
Oh.
on the silly little chat. No, we're not. Now that we're into the, I want to hear about the too close to the customer. You know, like empathy is good, but then too much of a good thing. So I want to end with that. But I do want to.
Oh, sure.
I have to give a little shout out to our previous guest and one of my colleagues, Mike Vladimir from Nascent Startups, who's been trying to. I think there's a lot of us trying to do it with this AI stuff. But the first thing AI definitely can do is help evaluate the questions in the first place. So I don't think that that's relevant to an expert like you, but it is very good at identifying the interviewer, the interviewee, who the founder is, who the researcher is, and just saying, hey, you were asking too many leading questions, you weren't asking open-ended questions, even missed opportunities. So like that is something that it can do. It can evaluate the
I would love that.
the interview itself. But then the other thing that was interesting hearing you all talk about, like connecting the dots. The other thing, if you invert it and save the actual analysis for the humans, it's also just very good at pulling out like taking all the garbage out of not that it's garbage, because it helps you build trust. But once you have that trust, you don't necessarily need it. And so now it's very, very good at pulling out historical quotes and not hypotheticals. And so just show me all of the historical stories or the statements and then ranking it by sentiment. So John, and all three of you probably know much better than I do about sentiment analysis, all that stuff. But it is very good about just pulling out the emotional, passionate, factual, historical, like show me everything that this person said that was, you know, historical, not forward looking, not hypothetical, passionate, and it'll pull out the top three most powerful quotes in under a second. That piece, then the analysis piece goes back to the humans rather than trying to flip it the other way around, and having a human pull out all the quotes and then having the robot do the analysis. I like the idea of having the robot pull out all the quotes and then the stuff that Ty was talking about still works, but then you can have the real humans, not the personas. But I also agree with Ty's stuff as well on the prompt side.
Yeah, I'm gonna need another session on that.
Well, good, because we booked you every night for the next year, so every Monday night for the next year. So you and David Bland are coming back every Monday night. All right, yeah, exactly.
I see the thing on the bottom.
All right, give us 5 minutes of stories and past to present and VA back to too close to comfort and take us home.
Yeah. So I guess what we already talked about in the green room, just being at NGA and not feeling connected to the customer. You know, the warfighter, faceless, nameless, very important, but you know, I didn't meet them. And
all right, sorry. Since you gave me 5 minutes extra, I'm going there. I was going to hold back before, but now. So when you talk about the VA and veteran, and is the customer, is the at NGA, Is the analyst
Yeah.
like? Are there other customers? Is it an
Yes.
analyst? Is it?
So, like, and John, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you start working at NGA, the customer is the war fighter. That is who you are supporting in your job. You, of course, you're, helping test out like the workstations for the analysts. So yes, they were my customer, but the customer, that's what you hear all the time. The war fighter is your customer. So I did have customers that were internal to NGA, and being able to help them. I'm talking about Conduit, being able to help them. That we created a content curation tool that helped them be able to do their job more quickly and more efficiently. So that was awesome. Seeing somebody be able to do their job better.
Yeah.
That was good. And then I thought, again, I want to help. I want to be able to help people that really, I want to see the impact of my work. So I did a short-term detail, 3-month detail at DDS, which is Defense Digital Service. And they're the sister agency to USDS, US Digital Service. Worked over there, and that was too close for comfort for me, because I supported the Operation Allies Freedom, so a refuge, getting the folks out of Afghanistan right as Kabul fell. So very stressful, very we got to get this stuff done now, and it was scary, like not scary that I thought something bad was going to happen to me, but just scary in the sense that so many people that I knew were coming to me and saying, we got to get this group out, people coming to folks on our team saying, this is my guy, we got to get him out. A lot of the people that we were helping were Afghani friendlies that helped DoD, like interpreters, helping folks around the country, like getting those people refuge in the US. So that's what I was doing. It was too stressful. I am a boring suburban mom. I can't handle that stress. I want to be home with my kids and having dinner with them and walking them to school. Like that, it was an incredible, I will never have an experience like that, I don't think, for work, for as far as immediate impact to my work on somebody else in a good way. Seeing, and I know y'all saw a lot of those photos of the flights coming back, just completely filled with people. And sorry, just knowing that I had, help in that was an incredible feeling. But
And I think
no, it was a no.
Based on what you said, right, is that your previous, work with the generic customer, and then you went to the complete opposite polar example of, this person by name, what time they're getting on the airplane, and what their favorite color is. And so there's this, this culture shock that comes with that level of tactical impact when you've been probably used to the more telephone game of requirements than the actual immediacy of need. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a shock, and then just knowing, like, okay, I thought for sure I wanted to work here. No, I don't want to work there. I think it was an incredible experience, but just not for me at this point in my life. So going to the VA and being able to still have those personal connections with folks I talk to, being able to understand what that impact to them is going to be, and being able to describe to them, what that future state is going to be. It's amazing, and being able to allow them to be heard. And again, we said, holding that space for folks, it's an incredible feeling. And I just know I did make the right decision. It was a hard decision to leave that world, that Plato's Cave world, but I'm so glad that I did.
That is awesome. I don't know about you guys, but Jamie, first of all, it sounds like you're willing to come back on at another time to kind of nerd out about some of these things. And but I am so happy that, first of all, I got to see you again after 20 years. I somewhere I think my mask is still upstairs in the room. By the way, during COVID, Jamie sewed us all masks that, and even a little pocket that we could put the
little filter
N95 in.
in.
Yeah, that's right. Put the filter in, and so I'm really really happy to see you again, and I hope that you come back. And for me, the thing that I'm taking away is my skill in terms of asking questions and utilizing those questions to kind of draw out and helping people in the same way that that you and I are both coaches and understanding the difference. So from a design questions versus a lean startup build a business kind of question. So I appreciate you, friend.
So happy to see you guys, and Ty, thank you so much. You helped me so much getting through my school, being a mentor to me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. And you
welcome.
guys too, John and Adam. I mean, working with you guys, I learned so much. I would definitely not be in the place I am now without your influence. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. This is fun. See you all next week. Jamie comes back.
Bye, Jamie.
Bye.
Until
or
then.
This one. Or this one.
All right.